Well, hello there and welcome to the bathroom of the dollhouse, where all the lofty thinking gets done, for another reading and quasi-comprehensive commentary on The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers for December 16th, the day of soaring imagination. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of soaring imagination. We have, well, can you guess what it is? This one's rather apt, I would say. Boom! It's a soaring pterodactyl there. That's right. I said the P, even though it's supposed to be silent. Hey, why not soar, right? Does that speak to the day? No, it might just. That's right. Sometimes it really doesn't. That being said, not altogether all too important, the visual representational image there. What is important, though, is it's December 16th, and hence it's somebody's birthday. So wishing you a happy birthday. That's what's important. So happy birthday. But if this finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may be, well, I just want to say, I hope you had a happy birthday. That's right. But for everybody else who's joining us, ideally to celebrate the December 16th birthday, I want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that's roll some dice. That's right. It is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake, if you like, and roll some dice. But I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And here I rolled a 5 and a 3, 4 and 8. Now, what's synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, my friends, it's just you getting out into the world and let the universe show you it's with you on your side. That's right. Too often in life, we go through going after our, errands and the things we need to do with the blinders on. That's right. So we don't notice a lot of the things going around us because we're very singular focused. And this is an exercise with which to take off the blinders. That's right. It's said the universe will put things down in our path to help us accomplish the goals or aspirations that we have, but we may not notice such things that it's trying to get us to go down. That being said, this is an exercise in that very thing, trying to get a communication with the universe, something very specific for it to show us. That's right, some numbers. That's right. That said, you don't necessarily have to go with the numbers I rolled for you, but it is ideal you take your own pair of dice so you can ascribe directional values to number sets and time limits with which to go in those directions. That being said, once you set off, have all those things determined, maybe you reach the end of your very first, directional time value there, and you don't see anything. Well, start soaking things up like a sponge. Everything that may cross your path or that you may see out of your sight line. Things on buses, things on bus benches, up on the advertisements there. You never know. And it's not just numbers you want to be on the lookout for. You want to be on the lookout for anomalies, or maybe the day might even take on a theme. That's right. You might start seeing pterodactyls on things. I don't know, to say stickers on signposts or transformers, maybe even an advertisement for, a dinosaur exhibit. Who's to say? Just be eagle-eyed for such things. But again, let's say you are at the end of your first time limit and you're not seeing anything. Well, just stop, compose yourself, take a moment, and maybe look for anomalies. Maybe you see somebody walking through the crowd and they're wearing something that just stands out, like a hot pink shirt, for instance, amid a sea of beige. I don't know. Hey, you know what? Take out your dice, roll some time, and follow after them. See where they're going. Now, be careful you're not coming off like a stalker. That's not the goal here. But you know what? Even if they do see you, maybe confront you, you know what? Be open, honest, transparent. Show them your dice. Maybe show them this video. And they'll be like, really? And you're like, hey, I got all the stuff here. I'm just out here trying to see what the universe has in store for me. You know what? A lot of people out here, they just wanted to get a taste of that magic themselves. See, taste, touch, feel, maybe even smell as much. So they might just be apt to join you. So let's say that they do. Where are we going next? They ask, and you say, I don't know. I was following you. Where were you going? Well, right this way, they say. I don't know. Maybe they take you up to, who's to say, a donut shop, let's say. Hey, you know what? Maybe you're not really in the mood for a cruller, but hey, roll the dice. See what number pops up. Pick it off the menu, perchance. I don't know. If you don't like it, hand it to your new friend there, and then set off on some other adventure there. Who's to say? Maybe you guys pull up in front of a bus there, and it just so happens to be, the number 53 line, or the number 8 bus. Who's to say? And you know what? I know you probably don't ride the bus much, but get on there, see what you see. You know what? You might just have perfect change for it. And that said, you want to get off the bus as soon as possible, roll yourself another time value there. Get off if you can. But hey, maybe you see somebody wearing a hockey jersey and they got, ooh, what's this? The number 53 on the back. Hey, you know what? Your friend's going to be like, let's do it. So roll that dice, see how long to follow them for when they get off the bus. And who's to say, maybe you get caught again. That's right. Maybe you get somebody else who joins. And what's this? Oh, maybe it just so happens to be their birthday too. That's right. Hey, you never know. I know a lot of you might be saying coincidence and such, but hey, you know what? Let's line up some coincidences. Get out there, see, taste, touch, and feel a little bit of that magic. That's right. And if you do, you'll see why I suggested it for you. In any event, I think you get the idea. So let's dive in with the birthday read, shall we? Your month is December, your day is the 16th, your sign is 23 to 25 degrees, Sagittarius of the Sagittarius III period specifically. And your quality and elements is mutable fire. All right. December 16th, the day of soaring imagination. Those born on December 16th are among the most imaginative people in the year. And this is not to understate their physical side, however, which is highly developed and stakes out its claim on their personality as well. As a matter of fact, one of the major themes in the lives of December 16 people concerns transcending physical limits of the body and reaching for the stars. December 16 people are not the easiest to live with. Emotional problems of all sorts plague them, usually as a result of their own complex nature. And those who live with them must be extraordinarily understanding and sensitive to their needs, not the very least of which may be a need for periodic solitude. And indeed, some born on this day must be in their own world to work effectively. Thus, they do the best away from offices and organizations, in an environment where the demands they meet are primarily their own. And often December 16 people feel guided or even instructed by a higher power, in whose service they find themselves. And this power may be social, religious, or universal in nature, but ultimately liberating for them. And though this association they are freed, or through this association rather, they are freed from their earthbound problems, at least for a time. And December 16 people are capable of feats requiring Titanic energies. And once they are directed towards an inspiring but also realistic goal, there is little that can stop them from achieving far-reaching success in their work. Yet they can be easily sidetracked and fall prey to all sorts of slights, real or imagined, annoyances, and to them, trivial problems involving other people's feelings, to which they are not always the most sensitive. And living on what may or may not be a high spiritual plane or metaphysical cloud, they can have trouble relating to those mere mortals busy with more mundane and petty considerations. It is extremely important that December 16 people remain well grounded in daily reality. Taking an interest in life around them is important for their human side and keeps them in touch with the world. Thus, their mates, friends, and children play a crucial role in their lives. And with working out their emotional problems, learning to trust and love more fully, these are matters that can only be dealt with through interaction and encounters with others. Explosive reactions alternating with remoteness or indifference, manic periods followed by depressions, the highs of laughter and the depths of deep silence are all colors found on the December 16 palette. And the more successful of those born on this day find expression in the high idealism and the feelings through creative work, hobbies, or social activities. And thus they are able to communicate with and touch their fellow human beings through shared interests. All right, how about that for a birthday breakdown? I'd say it was rather narrow a focus. They didn't really expand too terribly much, but they did examine quite a bit the things they decided to focus on. That being said, let's dive in with that commentary I promised at the top. See what I had to say, maybe make some connections with other days and such. All right, December 16th, the day of soaring imagination. Some of the most imaginative people in the year. the reading said. You transcend the physical limitations of the body and reach for the stars, all right? And it's said to be one of the major themes of your life, and despite a physical side that stakes its own claim as well, apparently. That said, the reading claims you may not be the easiest people for others to live with, considering you're complex individuals. And so you may need to have a thorough understanding of how to navigate your needs, and that you may require occasional solitude, which some people, sometimes they just can't seemingly abide, all right? Or they might actually take occasional offense. But it seems to be a Sagittarius through line to some extent, believe it or not, that many people in this period function more productively by themselves. And I do find it interesting that it's said you may feel guided by a higher power with your work. Such a dynamic seems very oddly specific and maybe sets you apart from your other Sagittarius contemporaries. Whereas many of them see life as a god, you see your finer process or your place in your world in that particular regard. So very interesting that they mention that. And I'm assuming that makes sense, at least to you. All right. That said, whereas other Sagittarius are in possession of incredible amounts of energy, the reading claims that you're capable of work that requires enormous amounts of it. Where I don't know if that's different or not. Certainly not one to say, but it's certainly a distinctly unique way of relating as much. So maybe there is a little bit of a difference there. Regardless, you may get distracted easily by trivial matters, which you may be the cause of, kind of sounds like to me, considering your very unique nature. Which is interesting to say if you can figure out how to swing putting time into, kind of assuaging other people's concerns, you may in fact save yourself some headaches and maybe some time later, all right? And which in turn then extends to the reading's recommendation to stay grounded and take an interest outside of your own concerns and responsibilities. That's right. And other people might see you as taking an interest, putting in the time. That's right. Even though for you, it's just like, well, I'm trying to get my own time. But hey, you don't got to tell them that part. That's right. In any event, that's what I'd say about the breakdown. Let's move on to your numbers and your planets. That's right. Those born on the 16th day of the month are ruled by the number 7, as 1 plus 6 equals 7, and by the watery planet Neptune. And those ruled by the number 7 sometimes fail to follow through on their ideas and can get out of touch with reality easily. Particularly true for December 16th people. Neptune is the planet of dreams, fantasies, and also of religious feeling, which coupled with Jupiterian influence, which is the Sagittarius ruler, grants December 16 people a high degree of idealism and an interest in mysticism and religion. And those born on this day must beware of a tendency indicated by the number 7 to throw caution to the winds financially and leave their families or businesses financially embarrassed. Ooh, interesting there. They gave you a little bit of numerology there. Sometimes they don't focus on the numerology too much. That being said, let's get into the what I had to say about your numbers and your planets here. All right, the watery planet Neptune and the number 7. For dreams, fantasy, religious feeling, and a coupling with the jovial, optimistic, expansive planet Jupiter. For idealism, it said, all of which seems to inform the breakdown to a very large extent. Sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect, seemingly. The likes of which I didn't want to come out early in the read and drill down on. Wanted to save it for this particular section here. But that said, this appears to be one of the days where Jupiter's bolstering effects are more in line with traits highly disjointed from what I would expect, at least what I would expect to be realized by such a coupling. Granted, as far as astrology is concerned, I can only really go with what's related in the book, because I certainly don't have a degree in as much, but none of Jupiter's qualities seem to really come through here, surprisingly. The co-rulership traits, I'd say, their influences, they seem to confer more with a good case for the reading's recommendation to try and stay grounded. There's a lot of forces working against it, it would seem. And See, like I said, Jupiter's the optimistic, jovial planet, bolsters the effects of the co-rulership. Well, sometimes it bolsters things that are, like I was kind of saying, in contrast to Jupiter there. So here it says it bolsters up the idealism. So maybe that's why it's so difficult for you to stay grounded in so many regards. That being said, Jupiter's also said to impart a little bit of luck. They didn't really mention that here. But hey, if you feel extra lucky, that might just be why. Or if you see, the numbers seem to come up your way a lot more often than other people. There you go. That being said, that's been your numbers and your planets. So let's move on to your tarot. That's right. One of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. But hey, it's here in the book. We don't have to take it home with us and start dealing the cards out and inspiring our every whim and flight of fancy or predicting your future, however those things are used. But hey, let's just leave in the book and see what it has to say. Sometimes it informs the breakdown a bit. It can be interesting. So the 16th card of the major arcana is the Tower, which in one version of the tarot deck shows both a king falling from a lightning-struck tower and the builder of this tower being killed by a blow to the head. The tower symbolizes the impermanence of not only physical structures, but also of relationships or vocations in our lives. The changes wrought may be sudden as well as swift, and the positive elements of this card include overcoming catastrophe and confronting challenges. However, the card cautions against rising unjustifiably high, risking destruction at the hands of one's own invention and succumbing to the lure of fanciful enterprises. All right. Total copy-paste job here with the tarot. They just kind of took it from the last day, moved it forward, which is somewhat common, but sometimes they do individualize it a little bit. That being said, what I have to say here. The Tower, which is a once-a-month card here. Other cards get repeated on occasion. It symbolizes impermanence in various aspects of our lives and how such changes can be sudden and swift, right? With positives of overcoming challenges, but warnings of risking destruction at your own hands, all right? Kind of speaks to that idealism head in the clouds thing, if you like. At least I would say. Which, here I said, I would say speaks to the breakdown quite aptly, considering the seeming vacillating behavior that you're said to kind of have there. But also your capability to realize incredible feats with your own talents, but seemingly at the cost of those around you. If you yourself if you throw yourself into such works headlong, that is. That being said, like I said, I think it kind of speaks to your day. A lot of times these things don't. Sometimes they do. Sometimes I have to make some really broad-reaching, association for as much. And sometimes they mention in the book to take an example of as much because there's such a disconnect. So that being said, I would say, yeah, they definitely risk against rising unjustifiably high. I guess you could make a little bit of a association there, and risking destruction at your own hands. Once again, another kind of association if everything that's been brought up in the breakdown remains true to you at some point. Any event, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right, your health. December 16 people often suffer from a variety of seemingly vague or hidden physical complaints. And sometimes these difficulties have strong psychosomatic overtones. Chronic problems with our digestion and internal organs may arise over the years, but perhaps can be headed off with a healthy diet, particularly one stressing fresh, high-fiber vegetables as well as grains. Regular walks, swimming, and outdoor activities of all types admirably suit the December 16 need for exercise as well as maintaining contact with nature. All right, there's been your health. Once again, back to the notes here. What do we got? Very apt, seemingly you suffer from vague or hidden physical issues. Sometimes they said with a strong psychosomatic overtone. This is very interesting as it's a new dynamic for the health. I don't think they've ever mentioned psychosomatic stuff before. Hypochondria and psychological issues, for sure, those have come up. But this is distinctly different, I would say. Say they recommend a high fiber diet for digestion. And this is interesting too because that's more of a Libra Virgo type thing. And they aren't ruled by the planet Jupiter or Neptune. So I don't quite know where that comes from. Kind of interesting. So perhaps take note. If they're mentioning it in here, it might be for a reason. What else do I have? It's an apparent need for exercise. There's an apparent need for exercise, they said, but more as a means, I'm assuming, to ground you. That's right, get your head out of the clouds a little bit. And they talk about nature, which is a Sagittarius thing, also a little bit of fulfillment and joy from animals and children kind of deal. So that's also a through line as well. So, again, maybe take note. That being said, that's been your health, so let's move on with some advice. All right, some advice. Keep yourself grounded. All right, work through your physical problems and attend regularly to the matters of everyday life. Be sensitive to the feelings of others. All right, hey, I think they drilled down on all of this before. Nothing we haven't heard. Sometimes they put in stuff that makes a lot of sense, but it's just completely new. Not here. All right, so what did I have to say? Without the risk of sounding redundant here. Keep grounded, okay? It sounds as though there's zero concern for being imaginative on your part. So don't let that ever be a concern or a worry, I would say. Sometimes we worry about things that are just, intrinsic. So maybe to put that out of your head if it's something that comes up. And lend some concern for what you do struggle with, I say, all right? To which, work through your physical problems, it says. The things at hand, I would assume, not necessarily your health. The things in front of you generally won't wait, right? And giving them due consideration may just help with your more passionate concerns later, all right? And at least more than you'd think, potentially. And at the very least, they won't be a distraction or an outside stressor if you take care of them, which extends to matters of everyday life as well, and the feelings of others. That's right. You and your work also aren't the center of the actual universe. That's right, even though you're the center of your own. So come down to earth once in a while. You never know what you might find. It might actually help you expand some thoughts, ideas, etc. That's right. So that's been your advice. Let's move on to your meditation. That's right. A little meditation for you here. What do we got? All right. The storms of life eventually blow over. Ooh. Not quite sure about that one for you, but hey, that's what they chose. Once more, the storms of life eventually blow over. All right, that's been your meditation. I'm not going to throw some interpretation or spin on it for you, even though I don't have one, but it's just for you. It's your birthday. So there you go. That being said, let's move on to your strengths and weaknesses. That's right. Hey, let's get out of that idealistic mindset and get a little pragmatic, shall we? See where you're a benefit to some things and maybe where you're a little bit of a deficit. That's right. Your strengths and your weaknesses. You're a visionary. You're imaginative. And you're guided. All right, those are your strengths there. But now your weaknesses. Oh, let's flip the objective mirror around to the side that blows up your face and shows off all the scars and pockmarks from when you were a kid and picking your chicken pox scabs and it carried forward with you. That's right, your insecurities in a way of speaking. Your weaknesses, you ready? You're impractical, out of touch, and you're troubled. Ooh, troubled popped up again. You know, troubled was a through line throughout Scorpio, the zodiac sign that was immediately before this one. And it's popped up on occasion through Sagittarius. So you're not alone, all right? It's probably the most common weakness since Scorpio. That's right. It was just stacking up. That being said, who's to say what they mean by troubled? But maybe you do. That being said, also, I would argue that our strengths can help us overcome our weaknesses. You're a visionary, you're imaginative, and you're guided. Hey, you know what? You're going to find a path to overcome your weaknesses. Impractical, out of touch, and troubled. hey, you know what? Those all seem to kind of dovetail together. So if you improve on just one of them, the rest will probably follow suit. But that being said, don't totally discount your weaknesses because they make you who you are. That's right. And also, dependent upon the situation, our weaknesses can also be strengths. I don't have a great example, but impractical, out of touch, troubled. Hey, you know what? Maybe there's an aspect of that you can put into your works of art there, or your imagination works there, whatever your projects are, and take on a theme in that regard and feel like, wow, this is so troubled. How did you do it? There you go. There's a strength right there. Turn it on its head. That's right. In any event, that's your strengths and weaknesses. Let's move on to those born on this day. And when I get into those born on this day, now that we get to share with you what lottery we drew, who shares your company, but something I like to segue into and focus on for a moment is figuring out our passions. You see, I get out in the world and meet folks, and I ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it. And a lot of times they don't. But who can blame anybody? You know, it's like when you get out of school, right into a job, and you start following through on that corporate ladder. But the fatal flaw usually is the fact that it had nothing to do with anything you liked. Oh, that's right. Maybe a little bit, but a lot of times not. And then you just keep advancing up in some place that you don't necessarily want to be. So I think this is the perfect opportunity to not only see who shares your company, but what they did to get in the book, how they affected society, right? And maybe we can stir up the passions of the fires for you to start considering what your passion is. Because it takes time and effort to figure those things out a lot of times. And a lot of times you get done with work at the end of the day, the end of the weekend, you don't have the time to put in for that. So maybe here we can stir up the fires for as much. Like I said, it's nice to get out of bed in the morning and be eager to get on with our day, and sometimes we need a purpose and or a passion to do as much. So let's get into it, and maybe me putting the bug in your ear about it will help stir up the fires, like I said. So we start off with Ludwig van Beethoven. That's right, the German master composer, a pianist, and the prototype for romantic artist, and deaf for most of his career. Jane Austen, the British novelist of Pride and Prejudice, and died at age 42. We also have Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction writer of Childhood's End and the screenwriter of 2001: A Space Odyssey. We also have Margaret Mead, an anthropologist and responsible for coming of age in Samoa. And she worked with her 3 anthropologist husbands, it says. We have Sir Noel Coward, a British playwright, actor, director, and a composer. We also have Philip K. Dick, the science fiction fantasy writer and responsible for Time Out of Joint. We also have George Santayana, a Spanish-American philosopher, essayist, poet, novelist of The Life of Reason. We also have Zoltán Kodály, or Daly perhaps, a Hungarian composer, political leader, and an ethnomusicologist. Not quite sure what that is, but let's use our imagination, right? We have Liv Ullmann, a Norwegian-Swedish stage film actress and writer of Choices. And we also have Joe Farrell, a jazz tenor saxophonist. Hey, you broke the cycle. There was a time there where every day there was a jazz saxophonist, and it's been like a solid week and a half. We finally got another one there. A solid week and a half without one, I mean. That said, let's move on. We have Joe Venuti perhaps, a jazz violinist. Brett Weston, photographer, photographer rather. We have John Abercrombie, a jazz guitarist. We also have Mal Waldron, a jazz pianist. C. Jin Arajadasa, an Indian theosophist and a leader and responsible for first principles of theosophy. We also have Edward Ruscha, artist and a photographer. How did I say it? Photographer. We also have James M. McCracken, an opera singer. Elizabeth Hawes, a New York fashion designer. We also have Leslie Stahl, a TV journalist and an anchor. And William Refrigerator Perry, The Chicago Bears football offensive lineman, or a Chicago Bears football offensive lineman, not necessarily the. All right, in any event, that's been those born on this day. And let me tell you something very surprising how many people I recognize in here. Some of these days, it might be one or two of the 25, 30 that we read. But that being said, you had a ton of writers, some actors, some scientists, a lot of people that left a mark. That's right. So I know it's a big ask, tall order to try and take inspiration from somebody else's accomplishments. But hey, you know what? Even if we can't, like I said, maybe me putting the bug in your ear about as much can help you stir the fires. Because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you get busy trying to figure out your passion. And if you already got it figured out, well, you know what? Hats off to you. Or maybe you're someone who just doesn't know how to make it financially viable. Well, you know what? That takes time and energy to figure out as well. Use that imagination. That's right. You're a visionary. That being said, that essentially rounds out your birthday read. Except to say, your season is fall, your sign once again is Sagittarius, of the Sagittarius III period specifically. And your quality and elements is mutable fire. And what does that mean? Well, that's a different video altogether. I'll leave it at the end there for you if you're interested. You can see what the channel looked like in its older days there, and any event. That said, this has been December 16th, the day of Soaring Imagination, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in diving in further. Getting on with the read a little bit quicker than I conveyed it for you, but that said, it makes a great coffee table book. It's going to get the party started if you have a little bit of company over. That's right. Taking some time away from your projects, ostensibly. That's right. Get the ice broken. Get the conversation started for better or for worse. That being said, not altogether too important the book here, but what is important, like I said at the top, wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, happy birthday, all right? Get out there, and also, that's right, your daily numbers. Get out there and see, taste, touch, feel, see, maybe even smell some of the magic. And if you do, you're going to see why I recommended it for you. That being said, everybody else who joined us randomly or to celebrate, I just want to say thanks for joining us. And I don't know, maybe come back and see your own birthday read. That's right. That's right. In any event, once more, happy birthday. Take care of yourselves. And stay grounded, all right? Or, put your feet down once in a while. That's right. Take care of yourselves.